Welcome, everybody, to episode 35 of the Hotfix podcast. Sorry for our absence last week. Life got ahead of both of us, and it is what it is. Also, we are in the remote format because A, Toronto locked down again, and B, Jeremy left us.
I did. I vacated back home to Newfoundland for the holidays.
Very nice.
Fun. But I have to quarantine for 14 days. So
All you have is your laptop and your AirPods.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Have fun. Laptop and my AirPods. So thankfully we can do this.
Welcome to Hotfix, the weekly podcast that dives into the fascinating world of streaming, gaming, and esports. With your hosts, Brant Vladichuk and Jeremy Kelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hotfix Podcast, episode number 35. This distance education. I thought I'd have somewhere to go with that, but I really didn't. But thank you guys for tuning in.
It was good enough.
There. It was. I mean, there was a thing there. I just lost it at the end, as we tend to do. Today, we wanted to talk about. This is a great idea Brent had earlier when we were kind of trying to talk about or trying to come up with topics for today. Was, if you could go back in time to when you first started streaming, knowing everything that you know now, how do you approach starting streaming differently? And it's a really interesting thought, right? Because, after 2 years of streaming, it's like, obviously you kind of learn the ins and outs of the business and what works, what doesn't work. Trial and error and all the fumblings and failings that you've had. So, if you could avoid all of that, it's just like you would think you'd be in such a great position. But then you think that you would think you'd be in a great position. But then at the same time, it's like, all this knowledge is out there on the internet for people to see. Yet still, people start streaming, and there's still, a very, very minuscule amount of growth as far as successful streamers go. Right? The word successful is obviously different for each person, but
yeah, and it doesn't matter how many tutorials or something you look at. As soon you will learn things yourself.
And that's kind of more where the conversation is, right?
Yeah, and you kind of have to go through that your own little learning phase. Like, a tutorial will only teach you so much. It's kind of like opens the door, and it's up to you to go through the door.
Yeah, and it's like when I think back to when I started, it's like I definitely did my share of research as to how to set up all the stuff and what alerts you should use, and get a little bit creative with making sure things are a little bit unique to your channel and do things that fit you and have a schedule and understand what your brand is supposed to be and all this kind of stuff. And you can, people can research that, and people do research that kind of thing, of course. But for me, it's like, how hard is it to stream when no one's watching? How hard is it to stream when new people come in and to keep those people around? Like, these are kind of a lot of the skills or the skills or the failings, I suppose, that you have when you're going through that, after a little bit of experience is you kind of understand what people mean when they say, streaming isn't necessarily easy, and it can be draining, and it can definitely be hard and taxing, and there's problems along the way. It's not just playing video games with your friends, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest learning thing for me. It was like, of course you hear people say like, oh, it's hard, but it's like until you actually commit yourself to do it, you don't really realize just how draining it can get.
No, absolutely not. It's funny enough that you brought up this topic. So I have a friend of mine who is just learning how to use like Streamlabs and OBS and all that kind of stuff today. Like, he wants to start streaming starting cool. next week kind of thing. Like, has his channel, and he's getting like his logo done and all these kind of things. And he was just talking about like his idea is that he wants to, like, he's a fairly big horror movie buff and horror video game buff. Like he plays a lot of horror games and watches a lot of horror games and has been playing and watching them for a very long time. So he's going to try to build a channel based off of kind of that niche, right?
Oh,
right,
cool.
the horror genre niche, which I think is a wonderful, if you had to come out as a niche streamer, that and fighting games are probably like the two where there's like probably a need for more niche players in amongst those genres.
Yeah, like the horror genre is popular for 1 month out of the year.
yeah. Unless like something like a Resident Evil 2 remake comes out or something like that, right? But I think it's awesome for him that he can, that he has that in mind. And, I spoke to him about like obviously you point him in the direction of your Harris Hellers and these kind of people. Like, hey, watch these videos, like do the research, like we said, that everyone should do to kind of understand the platform. Mm-hmm. But with him, I was talking to him just as in kind of a way of, if that is genuinely like the route you want to take, and of course that could change as you start streaming, but like if he were to come in and say, yeah, I want to be a battle royale expert.
Yeah.
Man,
Good luck.
You're diving into some deep waters, dude. But it's for him to, I think understand that genre is something that is a little bit more of a niche, and that there is definitely an audience for it. I think it's very smart for him. But that kind of makes me think of, the whole idea of the show is like, if you could go back, and knowing everything you know now and didn't start streaming, my biggest thing for me is understanding how fast Twitch changes, like the Twitch meta changes kind of thing, right? Like if you think back to when I started streaming, like everyone had very big, bold alerts and animations and overlays. There was like 5 constant. Oh, there was like a bar around on the top and a bar on the bottom that had like the newest follower and subscriber and top donation and recent sub and like all this kind of stuff. Like the screen was very, very, very cluttered. Mm-hmm. And then Twitch has very much changed to like a minimalistic approach as far as like the design the streamers are putting forth, right? And that's like one thing that I wish that I had taken into consideration, because that kind of lets you think ahead, right? Like you can, if you have a good understanding of the platform and of the business, you could kind of come out of the gate with understanding what the meta is now, but then find out, okay, how long has this been going on for? Okay, what are some of the more innovative streamers doing to kind of push the envelope a little bit, and where do I see this going in the future? And then you could kind of design your whole thing around how you think it could look in the future, and that kind of like protects yourself. Should it go that way, and it also helps you stand out a little bit in that you're not doing the same big bold designs that everyone else is doing. Yeah,
I can see that.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like one thing I thought about. That's just like, that would be like that, because that's such a thing, right? Like, if you have a setup that looks very outdated and is very cluttered and all that kind of stuff now, I think new viewers might turn away from it a little bit because it seems old.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. Like when I notice a overly complex like stream overlay, or just like there's too many things going on, it's a really big turn off. Like it really is just now game, camera, game and face.
Yeah, game and face, and like a little tiny, you want to have some little graphic kind of thing there that's like your own little thing, and then your alerts should be pretty sleek and smooth, but non-interruptive and not like taking over the whole experience.
Too intrusive.
Exactly. As
Yeah,
like
like-
it shouldn't be, something that blocks out your entire screen and is this loud sound and really aggressive thing because someone followed your channel.
Yeah. It's
Like,
kind of
it
like
should-
the early days of the internet. Like you look at
Yeah,
old
yeah.
websites that were like GIFs and like just, I feel like that's how stream design started, like the early days of the internet. And now people are kind of getting
Absolutely.
more into like the cleaner, modern, slick vibes, which I am
I think that-
100% for.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And-
totally agree.
And then, like, there's definitely ways you can make your stream stand out and still have it pretty clean and like slick. Like
Yeah.
your, like
Oh,
your
of course.
intermission screen, you have a lot more creative freedom over. Like I don't know if like
Absolutely.
anyone's seen mine, where like I tilt the game and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's pretty complex, but still like clean and sleek.
But
in my opinion.
exactly, I think that's the thing, right? And like, I mean, even with your little webcam border and with your alerts and with all that kind of stuff, like there's still a lot of room to be creative and make your channel your own.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so that it's understanding that the idea of having all your notifications and banners and all this kind of stuff being so intrusive is not what people are looking for anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Where when streaming was smaller, there was, the more stuff you could see it was all new. So it's like, oh my God, people actually followed and subscribed and donated. And there's like a ticker tape running the whole time. Like
How many
this-
animated GIFs can you get in there?
and that's exactly it, right? But yeah, it's definitely a bit more refined. So that's like something just to keep in mind. I guess if I was starting streaming now, is to realize what the innovative people on the platform are doing and try to understand why they're doing it that way, and then where things could go in the future, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What
So for
I was
me,
going to say, what's like something? Yeah.
the very obvious one is like I should have just started. I think like I mentioned this like in one of our really early episodes. Like I built up my gear for like 2 years before I started. And I really should have just started. I had a basic webcam and like everything I needed to technically get started at the time. But it was
Right.
like, it was also the anxiety of I'm just fucking scared shitless to start.
Right. Of course,
So like
of course.
part of building up this like the gear was to help build up like the confidence as well. It's like, oh, if my thing looks bad and I'm bad, it's like bad squared. At least when it looks good. At least when it looks good and the content's bad, at least there's one good thing. That was like
Right. Yeah.
the bad thought process. But like in reality, I should have just started because once I started, it took a good 2 years for me to kind of like build up the confidence in front of a camera. So like
Right.
if I would have started when I like initially came up with the thought, I was like, oh, I want to stream. That 2 years of building up the gear and streaming is like I could have had the gear and the confidence at the same time.
All at one time, for
So-
sure. And that's definitely something. And I do remember you saying that like very early on in the episodes where it's like, man, if you want to stream, like just start streaming.
Just start. Like
Right. Like you don't have like what I just said too, like as far as like having your stuff look, with what the current want is in Twitch it is important to a certain extent. But if you just want to stream, like getting experience in front of the camera is just as important, if not more important than almost anything else. Right.
Yeah.
Because
And
the
if you-
idea
yeah.
is that you're supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah, and like if you have a basic webcam and a half decent computer, like you can have a very good looking stream right now.
100% you can. And that's one thing too, like as I just kind of mentioned then, and that kind of made me think, it's like understanding that your goal is to entertain people watching. Like that's there's something really important to that idea, right? That just sitting down and playing games with your friends but having the camera on is not the goal. Right. Like the idea is to be as entertaining as possible. So I wish I had thought about that more prior to starting streaming.
Yeah.
Like, I really wish I had tried to understand why big streamers get a lot of viewers, and not being just like, "Oh, it's because he's really good at the game."
Yeah, that's actually a really good point as well. Is I think I had a lot of the same thought process. It was like, oh, I just turn on the stream, play games with my friends, and people want to watch that. It's like, no, the reality is, like, at the end of the day, you have to be entertaining.
Exactly. And that can be through gameplay. Like, it certainly can be through gameplay, but a lot of the time, if people latch on to the personality of a streamer, right? So finding that thing about your personality that makes you entertaining is something that, like, I mean, I still work on that today, right? But there's something to when you understand that that's what the business is. Like, you're supposed to be an entertainer.
Yeah.
They call it a streamer, but you're an entertainer, right? That's the idea. When you understand that, it kind of gives you a little bit of a different perspective as to maybe how to approach certain situations, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's, as an example, once you start to understand the intricacies of streaming or the intricacies of how to be entertaining playing a video game, you can find ways to make certain things happen in the game that makes what's happening more entertaining than it normally would if you were sitting there playing by yourself.
Yeah, that's
like, you can, right? Like, you can, as an example, you can slightly overreact to a jump scare. Not to the point where you're, like, selling it,
or
but
like
you can
do the dumb play in COD or Halo. Like, I do that all the time. If, like, there's a bit of a score, like a good gap in my favor, I'll start doing like the really quote unquote impressive hard stuff, and hopefully I get a clip, and hopefully it's entertaining.
And then that's exactly it. That there's a point where you can be playing whatever the game may be, and it's like, this isn't the right move, but if I can make it work, it'll be super sick.
Yeah, so and if it fails, you can also make it funny.
Exactly. So there's something to those things. Like, I remember this was more of a natural thing that happened to happen. I was playing Red Dead over the summer, and I was reading chat, but I was chasing someone on a horse. But as I was chasing someone on a horse, like a wagon rode out in front of me, and I, like, sideswiped the wagon and did, like, a flip over the top of the wagon and, like, crashed and died and the whole thing. And that was just a natural thing that happened. That happened. That ended up being hilarious because it's like it's a don't text and drive type situation, right? And but those kind of situations, you can find ways to almost set those things up to happen to make what's going on the screen more entertaining.
Yeah, and
right?
Just and having that forethought of, always think about, like, how you can make, if depending on what game you're playing, like, how you can make it more entertaining. And I think you were in my stream the one time where my buddy came in and, like, subscribed, and I was playing very cautiously, and I was like, oh, thanks for the sub, I'm going to do something real dumb, and, like, pulled off, like, a sick ninja on a dude. I was just like, yes, it fucking worked. Because of the sub.
Bro, and then you just, like, slap some guy around. Like, all right, sick.
It's like,
but doing stuff like that. Absolutely. There's something to, like, that's just an understanding of, again, it's capitalizing on the idea of you're an entertainer. So what can you do that's actually entertaining? Like, you can play Halo and be really good at Halo and be in, like, whatever, like, a super high rank and all that kind of stuff. And you're playing, like, high rank gameplay and competitive matches, all that kind of stuff. But if you can try to pull off, like, the ludicrous shit, or, like, the kind of BM moves that you're, like, people don't really do just because they're, like, not really efficient, but they're kind of funny. Like, if you can pull that kind of stuff off, it makes your stream more entertaining. And, like, the fact that it was called a ninja or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's a ninja. It's where you, like, go backwards. You let them run you jump so they run under you, and then you look down and assassinate them. It's not, like, the hardest thing in the world, but, like, it's the most satisfying thing to pull off.
Of course. So, but there's something to you doing that kind of thing, which you probably wouldn't normally do. But because you know how to do that, if a Halo fan is watching and they know what it is too, they're like, oh man, this dude knows what a ninja is. Like, this guy's, like, a genuine Halo player.
Yeah.
Right. So now all of a sudden you're entertaining, and you did something that, like, the Halo nerds know about. and you pulled it off, and then that's like a way, again, it's entertaining, it's relatable, it's hitting the niche of the genre that you're playing in, it's all that kind of stuff, and that's just all things
the
that I think come
playstyle,
with understanding.
my playstyle like changed completely. And then like when I first streamed, like my playstyle, I always played like I have to do the best I can, and like not necessarily the most entertaining. But now it's completely changed. Whether I'm playing Call of Duty, it's like I'm gonna play hard, aggressive. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna do like even if I die every time, like I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna try to make Warzone always have action. I'm not gonna sit in a tree and camp for 40 minutes a game. And like same with Halo, it's like I get a sniper rifle. I'm gonna like push and try to get all the no scopes.
Right. No, exactly.
Get all the snapshots.
Right. Funny enough, to that point, I was watching a streamer today, and they were playing Warzone, and someone in the chat was like, "Oh, gift you 20 subs if you start a game and just wear like a ghillie suit and sit in a bush for as long as you can." And it's like, okay, 20 subs, it's like $100 American. So it's like, all right, that's like sick. Like that would be amazing. But it's like, dude was like, I would love the 20 gifted subs, but I don't know how entertaining that would be for everyone else that's watching. So he like didn't do it. And it's just like, that's kind of the thing, right? Where it's like, this person understands that they're there to entertain a crowd. And I think it's just such a, once you realize, I mean, I think people probably realize that the point is to be entertaining, but once you start to understand what an entertainer is on Twitch, that's when you can kind of start to branch out and try different things and just try to better understand how to be that, right? And if you knew that going into streaming it, like, I feel like it would go a long way.
Yeah, and like some people are just naturally born entertainers, and I don't think,
of course, 100%, 100%.
Like, bless those people, but I don't think that's the majority of people getting into streaming.
No, I don't think so either. The other thing, and I know we've repeated this a whole pile of times, is I wish I had stuck to a schedule that was me streaming less than I thought I wanted to.
Yeah,
that's one thing I wish, because I've burnt myself out a couple times from streaming over the last couple of years. And if I had just like from the very get-go, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, or whatever, and that's all I did, and that's all I stuck to the entire time, it's like I feel like the consistency over a long period of time would have been a lot easier to maintain, right?
Yeah, that was going to be my next point was...
Okay.
Because I definitely did like the daily 4-hour stream for like a long time.
Yeah.
And it was...
And it's just like...
it did nothing. Nothing. I got just as many followers. I get more followers now that we're, doing offline content.
That's right. Yeah. And that's like, I mean, that leads it to what the next thing would be, right? Is understand what offline content relating to streaming is, right? Yeah. Like if you could have that set up as you start streaming, you can kind of kick everything into high gear right off the jump.
Yeah.
And that would be an amazing thing, right? Like if someone could come in, and this is like one of those things where it's like, we contradict ourselves a little bit in that, like, if you want to start streaming, just start streaming, which you absolutely 100% should. But if you have the means and the ability and the want to make offline content straight away, that you just start streaming, and someone can come in and they're like, this is my stream, this is my schedule, these are my socials, this is my YouTube, all this kind of stuff, and you're out of the gate doing all those things, it just increases your chances of being successful so much.
Yeah. But to the point again of like just start this isn't, of course, this doesn't pertain to everybody, but like for some people, like myself especially, it was just needed to practice and get good at it, and that took over a year, almost 2 years. So like,
and you had talked about before, right? Even on the podcast about like how the talking to strangers and just being on the camera and the mic wasn't like the most comfortable thing in the world for you, right?
Yeah, and for a lot of people it sucks.
Of course, no.
So
yes,
like,
absolutely.
for some people who want to start streaming, like just start and just start practicing. That's
Yeah, it's that idea of even if no one's watching, talk about what you're doing. Find ways to communicate what's going on, even if no one's there.
Yeah.
Right. That's all very valuable experience, especially when you just get going.
Oh yeah, it translates into real life as well.
It certainly does.
I talk
and
more in real life, I have noticed.
Do you really? Cool. So, like, in what situations? Just like in social situations?
Social situations, like small talk. Like, oh my God. Like, if you tried to have small talk with me 3 years ago, no, it's not happening. Sorry.
Right.
But now it's like, I had a conversation with a stranger in my elevator, like, yesterday. It's like...
It's amazing.
I just go, what the hell? I carried a conversation with somebody that I don't know?
Yeah.
Who the fuck? Like, what the hell? I'm 30 years old and I just had my first conversation.
Yeah. But you know what? But how valuable is that, right? At the same time, like, even if you didn't stream anymore and this podcast wasn't a thing anymore, like, there's an experience and or a confidence, I suppose, that you've gained from doing both of these things that's immeasurable, really.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fantastic.
There's absolutely skills that can be taken from streaming that can be applied to other situations, be it other jobs or social situations or whatever. Like, that, just like, you know, having some kind of confidence in your ability to start conversations or to fill dead air. There's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. And plus, you're going to learn how to use a computer. You're going to get a little bit more techie. Like, only good things are going to come out of learning how to stream. You just got to just do it. Don't dick around for 2 years saying every day. You're like, oh, I should start today. No, I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it tomorrow.
2 years.
You know, later. I just need to get this new camera, and then I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, I got the new camera, so I guess I'll start tomorrow. Oh, fuck, I need to upgrade my microphone. Okay, I got the microphone. I guess I'll start tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
2 years later.
I had such a bad time with that when I was trying to upgrade my PC, like, this year, when I was just like, when I had like the 3080 pre-ordered, and then I'd turn on my 1070 and I was just like, this is ass. I hate this. I've already paid for a 3080. I don't want to play this trash anymore.
It's even worse because you already paid for it. Like, the money is gone, but you don't get all the rewards. Streaming.
No one wants to see me play on this 1070 garbage.
If someone comes in the chat you've never seen before and be like, dude, is that a 1070? It looks like from the stream that you're playing on a 1070, and I am offended.
Yeah, as if you could tell. Yeah.
I am offended.
I can't stay here watching this pleb.
There's clearly RTX is not turned on. Like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dude, that shit's so sick. I love that so much. The insert the background thing. It's changed the built-in green screen or whatever. Shit's awesome.
It's so cool, and it's only gonna get like so much better too.
I'm so excited to see where that goes. Absolutely, it's gonna be sick. Also, when it comes to starting streaming, I think like that's another thing. I like briefly mentioned it earlier about like. You know, like I started streaming because I was watching streamers, right? Like, of course. And then you like, you know, I think you get inspiration and influence from some of your favorite streamers. And I think everyone does that, I'm sure. I just wish I had spent more time understanding that person's personality. And trying to like now that I understand the idea of, again, like we said, like being the entertainer and being confident on camera and all that kind of thing. I wish it's a lot easier to watch a streamer and be like, okay, they're doing this because this is the end goal, right?
Yeah.
I wish I had taken more time to like. Again, if I wasn't streaming, but I understood the business and what streaming is as well as I do now, I would sit down. I would have like watched my favorite streamers, be like paid very particular attention to what it is they're saying, when they're saying it, why they're saying it, what they're saying in relation to whatever the thing is that happens, how they fill dead air, how they react to certain situations that happen, how they deal with trolls, how they deal with big donations, how like all this kind of stuff. You can kind of get an understanding of what the successful people do and how they do it and how they set up, because a lot of it is setting up those interactions, right?
Yeah.
It's forethought and pre-planning and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
You like if I have a new scene, like when I added that like GoldenEye 007 death screen thing, it's like I would set up a situation where I'm going to die in a stupid way, and then to use that new scene without telling anybody it was a thing, because then it's like it hits harder.
Yeah, like adding new scenes in general, it can be a great way to add entertainment value. Like I like setting up my I have like a bunch of meme scenes set up.
100%. Yeah,
and I pull them out once or twice a stream.
Right. But like and that's the thing too, maybe that's what the next like thing that you would do differently is, not staying stagnant. Mm-hmm. Always changing. Make sure your things don't get old. People don't, hear the same alert or the same animation that comes up whenever this thing happens for 8 months. Like try to stay creative, try to stay interactive and engaged and constantly evolving and changing and tweaking and fine tuning and all this kind of stuff. Whereas like when I first set up my stream, I was like, I couldn't believe I even got it working, because I'm an idiot when it comes to tech. So I was like, holy shit, it's working. And I was like, I'm not touching anything. Like I'm afraid to turn a knob because it might shut off my monitor. Like, like I don't understand what's going on at all.
Oh my God, it's working.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, don't move the couch. Don't turn off the TV, okay?
Exactly. Like wouldn't shut off my computer, nothing like that. But if you understand it like you do now, you could go in with the expectation that, every 6 weeks to 2 months, there's little changes that happen and people can keep coming back to see what the new shit is. Or, you would hate someone to be there for like, they really watched the stream fairly regularly for 3 weeks. Then you didn't see them for like another 3 weeks, but then they randomly pop back. And it's like, oh, everything's just the exact same. Mm-hmm. Playing the same game with the same person, same jokes and animations and content, essentially. It's just like, okay, I've already done this. Like, other than the new thing that happens in the game, then it's like, especially if you're playing like a BR or something, where it's just like, or a multiplayer game at all, it's just like fairly repetitive. It's just like, yeah, okay, there's nothing like the shine has worn off kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you can keep things changing, then all of a sudden the shine keeps, you're polishing it all up often, so the shine keeps coming back.
You gotta apply that polish often. You gotta polish the knob,
You gotta polish the knob. That's right, exactly. Exactly, dude.
And on that note, join our OnlyFans. Lots of knob polishing.
Lots of knob polishing. I have another friend as well that I think for Christmas his like fiance is getting him like a bunch of streaming gear, and that's two friends now that are going to start getting into streaming in 2021. Now I'm just like curious to see how that's going to go. Like I feel like there's still a very big misunderstanding of how easy it is to make money streaming.
I think there's a big misunderstanding with streaming in general. I've had many friends reach out with the question of, should I start streaming? And it's like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. That's the short answer I tell them is, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
What's your goal? That's a whole...
Yeah.
That's when it gets into a conversation, but...
Exactly. Like, if someone thinks that this is still like a niche genre or a niche platform that, everyone's making a couple $100 a month kind of thing and doing great. And it's easy to get 1,000 viewers and all this kind of stuff. It's like, man, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the other thing too. It's, if you're starting now, you need to really understand how, you need to look up the analytics of how many streamers there are to viewers. I think I looked up earlier, and it's as of today, with the users versus active viewers kind of thing, or average viewers, is there's 27 viewers per channel.
Oh wow.
That's what I've seen today.
Okay.
So at 27 viewers per channel, when the top 0.1% has
all of them
95% of the viewership,
yeah,
right? That leaves a very, very, very small leftover to trickle through everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? So it's I think I'd be happy to understand what I'm getting into and manage expectations to go along with that understanding.
Yeah.
Right? Not that you can't be successful, because obviously anyone can, you can be successful. It's just the possibility of getting discouraged in the first couple weeks is probably greater now than it was when we started.
Yeah, I can see that a lot, because
right,
the people that are going to be coming to streaming now are the people that see Shroud's, Ninja, and Doc's multi-million-dollar incomes.
Of course. Yeah.
And
well, they know about 5 streamers, and if they tune into them every now and then, they see them all with 10 or 20,000 viewers every single time they tune in, no matter if it's in the morning, afternoon, or night. And there's a thought that they can, that they can easily get. Surely, if these guys can get 20,000 viewers, I can get, 150 viewers, and that'll get me a couple dollars, kind of thing. And it's there's a managing of expectations that needs to be done, understanding how big the platform's gotten.
Yeah.
That I think would do new streamers a lot of service going forward.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Did you have any other topics that you wanted to bring up?
No,
or
I think
other things.
I think we covered it well. So in recap, just start. If you're thinking about starting and you're scared to, just start, practice. Don't worry about having the 100%. Best gear in the world when you start. You'll build up to it.
Yeah. Understand that your goal is to be an entertainer.
Yeah.
And then try to understand what being an entertainer on Twitch or while you're streaming, understand what that means. And take time to educate yourself and try to grasp what that looks like. Right?
Yeah. And
I think if you... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I interrupted you there.
I was going to say that and then it's, if you can have your offline content ready to go before you start or as you start, that can help your chances of success tremendously. But at the same time, just start whenever you can, just with the intention that offline content is something that you're going to have to do down the road. So make a plan for that.
Yeah.
Right. There's sticking to a stream schedule that's less often than you think you want to.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And I think that's
such
so
a huge takeaway, but no one's going to listen because everybody gets told that and nobody fucking does it.
Of course. Yeah.
I feel like that's just a lesson that everybody learns themselves. So if you can, if you can listen to one thing, just remove one day that you're streaming to work on making your stream look better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you still want to be like streaming in some way, like do something with your stream that isn't maybe streaming.
Streaming itself. That's not live, 100%. And then lastly, it would be understand what the Twitch meta is. Understand how quickly it can change. Try to see into the future for what's coming up, what games are coming up, how's the audience's wants shifting.
Yeah.
Right. Keep that stuff in mind. Understand it is the entertainment business, right? There's an audience, and what the audience wants to see always changes, especially as years go by. And like the 19-year-old that watches it in college graduates from college. Now they're often working and they don't watch Twitch anymore. Like that whole generation of person can move on, right? It's forever changing, and just keep that in mind. And then with that said, don't stay stagnant, right? Like you just said, like keep working on little things to make your stream a little bit better, or your offline content, or things that could help the success of your stream without actually pushing that go live button.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Hotfix Podcast, episode number 35. 35. Nice. I did it, dude. I usually look back at the clapper, but I don't have the clapper.
I know. You just have the clap.
Obviously. I just have the clap. That's true. But thank you guys for tuning in. We do post every single Monday. If you guys do enjoy the show and you're watching on YouTube, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, all that good stuff. If you're listening on the audio feeds, wherever that may be, consider liking and following that channel as well.
And join the Discord.
And join the Discord. Oh, God.
It's linked
we had
below.
One person join. We had one person join.
There's 3 people in our Discord. You, me, and one random person. Thank you, random person. He's been actually very talkative. It's been great.
I seen your guys' conversation. He seems like a super dope person. Yeah. That's amazing.
So,
guys, thank you so much.
You listening right now can be user number 4.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
All the best, guys. Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.